Alrighty guys, today I'm substituting for Thomas for the video today. He might make one later, but for the most part I'm just gonna give you guys a rundown on what we're doing today while Thomas is out doing what he has to do. So far I jumped into it early this morning. I go ahead and started off with the rest of the roll pan. I don't know if you guys seen the last videos on the bed, but we got the bedside end that we got from LMC. I went ahead and sanded off, cut what we needed to cut, and welded it, did a little bit of fiberglass and body filler there just to kind of smooth it out. But for today, let me go ahead and get into it. We're going to go ahead and put in the new body mounts. I already did the front. What else we got done today? We're gonna get to the front roll pan, get the rest of the hardware on for the shocks. We did the rest of the suspension. What else will I be doing today? I'll be spraying the engine bay, hopefully the cab, get the rest of these body mounts on, finish spraying the back of the bed, the back of this, and I think that's about it for the most part. See what we can handle with this heat today. Obviously it's pretty hot, but we'll go ahead and keep you guys up to date with everything as well as we go today. We'll go ahead and video a few videos of us painting, and yeah, that should be it. But for the most part, we'll keep you guys updated.
Hey guys, welcome back. Appreciate everyone watching. Our last video I think it had the highest views of the week 1 posting of it. It was like week 16-ish or 17. Hell, I can't even remember right now. But anyway, today's Saturday. We did the video yesterday. We did a little bit of work on the truck yesterday. Actually, a lot of work on the truck yesterday. Small things. I'm gonna flip the camera here and go over those in a few minutes. But I wanted to say, I appreciate everyone coming back and watching these videos. I appreciate everyone who's hit that subscribe button and everyone who's posted a comment. I think it's getting a little bit more exciting that you can see the truck coming back together and everything we've done to it. The color in the sun comes out a little bit more. But we are going to put it back together today in terms of fenders, fender wells, and the bed. I'm going to flip the camera here, show you what we got left to do on it today. Not much. I hope in 4 or 5 hours. And then, you can't see this, but this is the carbs for the 62 Corvair. We're not going to put those on today, but we're going to take a look at them and maybe spend about an hour on it to kind of put a game plan together, because we're going to get that done here as soon as this is done, and we're just going to sell that. We're not going to put 4 or 5 months into it. The next big project is the 78 F-150, and we've already started mapping out what we're going to do with that. But that's not what today's video is about. So let me flip this camera around, show you what we did yesterday and what we're going to do today. And then we'll try to set up. We're under the shade up here. We'll try to set up and film it. But it's just kind of busy work. It's just putting the shocks on and a little bit of grinding and, putting the bed on and all that kind of stuff. So that's what the plan is today. So here's what we did get finished yesterday. So hopefully, I'm not going to scroll in too close, but we have the shock mounts welded on to where they're going to go. Oh, sorry, both sides. And all of the body mounts are, so you can see, they're new. All 8 were replaced. And that's done. We did a little painting yesterday. Got to finish it up today. Not much, but we have the first coat of the frame and the firewall. Firewall will be black, as you see in the video. You kind of just move around here. Finish painting the frame down below. Everything that we're going to paint in the front. Everything's done here. We primed the back of this again. We're going to use the Raptor bed liner spray on that. I like the texture and how it's going to sit. I think it'll be nice. And we have to put this shock on because I lost the shock mount stud and we had to pick one up yesterday. And you can't just buy one at the local auto store. You have to buy a shock, or you can buy one from Summit Racing, but it takes about a week to get here. So that's the game plan. Well, that's what we did yesterday. So everything, the mounts in the front are done, under the cab are done. Shocks on, rear shock mounts are in. This is painted, or the firewall's painted, first pass. Everything in the frame's painted. Got to touch up the fender wells. Those will go back on today. Fenders will go back on. Doors, we're going to spray the jambs before we paint, or before we put the doors on. So it's, or at least behind here, it's on the hinges, so it's all nice and clean. And that's it, guys. We're gonna put the shocks on, and the bed's all the way down there. Zoom in, it's there. And then we'll do some video at the end, and that's it. And then at that point, I think the only thing left is we're gonna pull the rotors off, have those turned, clean up the rotors, the calipers, paint those black. We already got brakes for the front. We'll put those on, put the calipers back on. We're gonna do the rear seal on the rear end today. And we're gonna paint that, and we're done. So let's stop talking and let's get to work. All right, guys, we are down to putting her back together, which is pretty cool because it's been a long 4 or 5 months on this thing. There was a period about 4 or 5 weeks we didn't work on the truck just to other priorities we had. But let me just walk you through what we finished today and over the weekend and point out a couple things and what's left. We got the fenders on it, I'll point that out. Fender wells are in, firewall. It's painted. We're gonna wet sand it down a little bit and make it look a little better and respray everything in there. But all the small stuff is done. Just time-consuming, tedious shit that you have to get through, and you know, you can't miss any steps on it if you do. Everything's jacked up. So let me just flip this camera. We'll end the day and show you where we're at, and then tell you what we're going to do next weekend. All right, I think this morning I started with the body mounts were replaced. You get a kit of, I want to say 8 or 10, about 160 bucks from O'Reilly's, but we put new body mounts in there. We have both of the rear shocks on. We're going to, they gave us the wrong gasket for the rear, so we didn't pull that off and paint it. So we'll do that next weekend. We'll put a new gasket on there, make sure all that's good to go. Then we'll paint the outside of that, sand it down. But the shocks are in, body mounts in, you can see all the dust from working in the sand. We have the fenders back on. Trying not to sniffle too much because these allergies are kicking my ass. But the fenders are on. You can kind of start to see once the engine comes in, that front end to sit down just a little bit more. We have one coat of paint on the firewall. But what we're going to do is we got some scratches in these fender wells. We did these very, very early on just because we had them off and we had a couple new guns. So we wanted to test them out. So we're gonna sand this down and spray everything together black, a couple more coats. But the fenders are on, the fender wells are in. The roll pan, we did cut the front bumper today, but we will not put the roll pan on until we put the front end back together so that we can make sure everything fits. And we're not going to weld the roll pan across the top, simply because if you ever have to take it off, a fender off, you don't want to have to cut the welds. So what we're going to do is on these corners, we're going to use some fiberglass to blend it in, and then we're going to take some rivets across the top and rivet the top in, and same thing on the sides. So I think that'll look nice. There's a way that we can do a little bit of tack welding on the inside, I believe, from what we saw today. But we're going to try not to weld it all in, simply because if you ever have to take a fender off, we don't want you having to cut the welds or anything like that. But you can see everything starting to come together, and it's pretty exciting because all the small stuff is done. And next week, and we pushed the truck in backwards this time because next Saturday we're gonna take the bed and put the bed back on. A couple guys wasn't able to help today, otherwise we would have done it today. And man, that's it. It's crazy. Bed goes back on. We're gonna sand everything down again, make sure everything's nice and straight. Take the windshield out when we get ready to paint. Going to take the drip rails off, make sure they're sanded and primed below those. But we are probably, I think next weekend we'll have the truck sanded back down, one more coat of primer, and I think John wants to paint on Sunday. I don't know if we can do it Saturday and Sunday, but we're going to try. And then she goes to the garage. Hey, what's up, buddy? It's our neighbor's puppy over there. She goes to the garage at the house to be, engine goes back in, transmission goes back in, wiring harness goes in. And then we put the inside in. Man, it's so exciting to get this far. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you like, please hit the subscribe button, the share button, post your comments down below. But in about 2 or 3 weeks, you'll really see this thing come together for sure. So I hope you guys have a great weekend and a great week. And next time you see this video, she'll be back together in terms of bed and final primer before going into the paint booth. You guys have a great one.